here would be that IMCOM, as the Army's expert on garrison support functions, would have the responsibility for integrating the kind of services that you would need to provide those kinds of functions for the Army. The services and infrastructure core enterprise obviously is going to work together at the enterprise level, at the Army management enterprise, is where that kind of effort to make sure that we're synchronized across the enterprises would happen. But here we're looking at those organizations with the Army that have particular expertise in certain areas. For example, Army Material Command probably has the Army's experts in maintenance contracts. So they would be responsible for integrating the service contracts associated with equipment maintenance. IMCOM in terms of garrison support, MedCom in terms of medical support. And then those would be integrated up through the enterprises, through the DASA services as the policy expert and those kinds of functions at the Army management enterprise to provide the Army its enterprise-wide perspective. Does that help?
Do we answer your question? Okay. Other questions?
General?
Yes, sir.
White Dice, Costa, Mississippi. I haven't seen an OER since 2002. We're talking about responsibility to permeate the system. We're going to put something in there about stewardship of taxpayer dollars.
Sir, I think you hit on the point that we are focused on, but still struggling with. How do you incentivize this? And there's carrots and there's sticks, and I don't know if that's a carrot or stick, if it's in my performance appraisal report or not. But yeah, we have to get the right focus there. And again, I'll pick up on what Mr. Spear, Bob Spear, said. The Army Strategic Leader Development Program focused on the top 300 plus of our senior executives, leaders and managers, okay, uniform and civilian executive service. We have, over the last 2 years, quietly, 2.5 years, quietly worked on a professional development program down at the University of North Carolina, supplemented with trips with industry to get some business acumen, okay, into the heads of our senior managers, both uniform and civilian. Over 300 uniform members have gone there. 4-star all, 3-star all, most of the 2-stars, and a cohort of the 1-stars as they have come along. And about 100 of the senior executive services members. And so that is a classic method by which change management and a transformation in a large, complex organization is accomplished. And so we have been indoctrinating, I'll use that term, educating our senior leaders, and again, to challenge them to say, it's not all about leadership, and specifically at your level, for example. Interesting to note that anybody who wears this uniform and has a star or more on them, 75% of us serve outside of the operating force. We are in the generating force. We are managing, okay, commodities, okay, resources for those soldiers to produce that product, okay, for our customer, the combatant commander. So, sir, we have to look at more methods by which we can incentivize that sort of behavior. So you start to think, act, and then eventually operate with that enterprise mindset.
And actually, the G1 has been tasked with coming up with a new evaluation system, and I think this is going to be one of the issues that's going to be looked at is how do we push that into the system. I think we need to do the same thing, obviously, for our civilians, because we've come out of NSPS, we've gone back to the old tape system, and I think we need to capture in whatever's going to follow on how we evaluate people as to how good stewards they are at taxpayer money. That's a good point.
I can add, if I can, you must have been sitting in the OSD comptroller meeting this morning because Bob Held asked the same thing. He asked, he wants to go ahead and put within performance plans and within OERs some of the things we've been talking about as far as evaluation and use of resources, the financial improvement. He also wants to say what new programs can we incentivize individuals to recognize that they have saved money, they have made cost-informed decisions, and one we didn't quite think about, but it was kind of interesting to hear, if somebody turns back money, can we reward them instead of chastising for not doing 100% execution? there's some things to work out with that, but those are some of the things right now in terms of initiatives we need to look at.
There's another one up front. I'm sorry, Hallie, did you want to?
I just want to add, there is a change that's already occurred. As we've gone through the Base Realignment and Closure Act, and we've gone through global rebasing, and our installations have gotten bigger as we've grown the Army, we've also changed the role of the senior commander at each installation. And all these activities we've talked about are now synchronized to some extent by that senior commander. And he's incentivized naturally because he's got to bring these programs together from all these various sources. So in my experience of doing it for 30 months at a large installation, as I've found ways to be more effective, more efficient, I usually garnered some of those resources to improve programs in the local area. So I think there's already a cultural piece that is occurring just as the way we've changed the way we've organized at the Army over the last 10 years.
The other thing I've got to say is IMCOM has put out an installation management campaign plan, something that I co-signed with them, and in it are specific metrics and specific requirements and specific goals for each installation. And so we are holding people responsible for meeting targets and being responsible stewards of taxpayers' money.
Jimmy Collins, I'm Castle, Washington, and from my experience in industry, I'd make 3 comments. First of all, I applaud you for getting on the bus and moving in this direction. The nation depends on it, and the Army's continued viability, not only generating forces, but fielding operational forces depends on it. Second thing is you'll get better with this as you go. And it's just like in implementing any kind of measurement, you better define the problem as you mature. The third thing I would say, and this may be a function of maturity of the effort, but one thing that I haven't heard discussed is the concept of life cycle management or life cycle cost. And particularly when in the institution you begin to measure how people are doing, and particularly if it's going to go in their career advancement file, you'll find people will measure very carefully and will undercommit in order to be sure they're successful. So how you measure cost, you've got to think beyond the boundaries, through the white space, across the different parts of the organization, and think about life cycle over a period of years is very important.
Great point, sir. Other comments, questions? Yes, ma'am.
You spoke about providing services to our service members. I wanted to, this is kind of a sensitive question, but I'm going to go with it. How do you manage the expectations? I mean, look at the economy where we're at right now. You know, we're at a point where, you know, I may think I need a 4-bedroom house with, you know, a 3-car garage and, you know, 2 swimming pools, when actually all I need is a 2-bedroom flat. So with what you are doing and what you are providing to the Army, how do you manage the Army's expectations?
Well,
Well, the air's coming out of that balloon now. No. Yeah.
I'm not sure you can manage expectations, okay? I think you can communicate what the Army's trying to do. You can communicate the services that the Army is providing, and you do it clearly, succinctly, so that everybody understands what it is the Army's doing. But I have a problem with the term managing expectations. That to me suggests trying to get people to lower their expectations. Their expectations are their expectations. But what we need to do is do a better job of communicating on behalf of the Army what the Army is doing to fulfill those expectations. Maybe not a complete answer, but that's my thought.
Good, okay.
I guess I'll give it from again, from a cost point of view and benefit point of view. It's outcome focused, you know, and I think that's an awful lot what we dialogue. Sometimes I've heard the SICE, you know, talking particularly, is that sometimes it's not only, if you will, expectations. It's everybody. Sometimes it's the outcome they're looking for. They're looking for families to be taken care of. They're looking for promises to be kept, and sometimes it's delivering. We've in the past shotgun delivered and spent money without knowing were we meeting the outcomes, and that's really where we're trying to get better at. putting a lot of emphasis on to where when I give you these dollars, what's the outcome and performance that we're going to measure, and are we meeting the if you will, the true expectations of the outcome?
And I think that's particularly important when you're dealing with people and what people are looking for, is we have a tendency in terms of leaders of thinking, we think we know what people want, but we don't really know what people are looking for. So rather than sort of project our own, hey, wouldn't this be nice, or isn't this a good idea, what we really have to do is as Bob Spear said, is really look at what are the outcomes that people are looking for and make sure we understand what our customers, for want of a better word, really need so that we can deliver that outcome.
If I could just pile on, because I was going to make this point later in the closing, but I'll use it now, if you don't mind. Because first of all, the Army, if you understand, is an extremely complex organization. So we have 1.5 billion, person, $250 billion enterprise that has a workforce that's geographically dispersed. It also happens to be transient. That's producing a high-quality product for our customer in a changing market. So we are responsibly tailoring and customizing that product that we're producing. And our customer, the combatant commander, is very satisfied. And we've done that for 9 years. We have never failed to deliver what the combatant commander needs for the Army to support fighting and winning our nation's war. But a good company produces a quality product. No doubt we do that. A great company produces a quality product that's affordable. And we're getting there. That's where we're trying to go. But an enduring great company produces that quality, affordable product by a satisfied workforce. And so your question is at the heart of our enduring nature of our institution. What is it, as the panel answered brilliantly, what is it that will satisfy our soldiers and their families? We cannot afford, we cannot continue to deliver trained and ready forces on the backs of and at the expense of our workforce. That's what we have done. And so the metrics, that Madam Secretary talked about start to get at it, because a year and a half, well, a little bit over a year ago, I asked Rick Lynch jokingly, what's the return on investment of Family Program 7? He said, what's Family Program 7? I said, I don't know, pick anyone. Pick one, pick two, because we cannot answer, to Carl's point. But we're getting there. That's what this is all about. The second story I was going to tell you, because when we opened this up, I said I'll tell you two stories. Personal stories. First one I told you about was Afghanistan, mission focused. Second story I'll tell you is about people. It's personal. I mean, Diana and Bob Durbin have been serving our nation for 35 years, and I think we consider ourselves great patriots. 8 years into service, we had 3 young boys, 2 of which are in the audience with me today that I am extremely proud of. 2 of my 3 are here. They were born 2 years apart, so I had 3 at the end of 8 years' time in service. If we had joined this Army in 2002, I would now have 8 years. We probably wouldn't have 3 boys, because I would be looking at my 4th or 5th deployment. And what Diana and I have asked each other is, at 8 years' time in service with 4 or more deployments, would we continue to serve for another 27 years? I couldn't tell you right now that we would resoundingly say yes. But think about why soldiers serve. They serve because they believe in what they do. They believe in why they do it. But most importantly, they believe in us as leaders, that we're going to fix whatever they are not satisfied with. That's why they're staying with us. So when anyone asks you, well, recruiting or retention is way up, you're good to go. Yeah, we're good to go because we have such wonderful young men and women who are serving our nation, who come into this great organization and believe that the leaders are going to make tomorrow better. That's what we're trying to do. And you just hit the heart, of what readiness at best value means. How is the long-term institutional health, going to be maintained? That's what we're trying to do as a enterprise. That's what we're trying to do as an Army, to make sure that this great Army that's the best in the history of the world, 2010, we can say that in 2020. So I really appreciate your question, because it's at the heart, okay? We answer that, we're good to go. Next question. I think we probably have time for one more. That way, if you wanted to ask a question, you know that you're the last one and you didn't hold everybody up. Any other?
I'll do the last one, Joe.
All right, I love a man of courage.
It'll be an easy one. I read through the 2011 transformation plan, and at the beginning of this, we talked about leader development. So my question is to the panelists, to the panel, looking at all the changes that have to occur, and the change agent that our leaders have to be, what do you consider the number one, from your perspective, the number one leadership trait that these leaders and these change agents need in order to get us to where we need to be?
You know, I would say that the first thing that comes to my mind when you ask that question is creativity. It's being able to see things that other people can't see. It's being able to connect the dots in a way that nobody else can. It's being able to step back a little bit and say, what am I missing here? You know, one of the things that you know, I learned when I was trained as a soldier was, you know, you make decisions, you move out, you get the 80% solution, you adjust fire as you go along. But sometimes you need to step back. And, you know, creativity has been, you know, you read Justice Marshall's decision in Marbury versus Madison, extremely creative. You look at Grant at Vicksburg, extraordinary creative leader. You can look across business, you can look across the arts. The thing we have to remember is creativity is hard work. It's not sitting around thinking. It's going out and doing things and learning and asking yourself good questions. If you look at the human capital strategy, we didn't write most of those long-term strategies. By the time you finish writing them, the good books, the good doorstops. It's about as useful as they can, because events overrun them. So we wrote a human capital strategy that was based on questions, asking the fundamental questions and keep asking those questions and keep readjusting and saying, what am I missing here? How can I see something that nobody else is seeing and move forward with that? That's what I would look at.
I'd like to add on to that. It was very interesting this morning. General Van Antwerp showed a video called Did You Know? And I didn't know he was into YouTube. But it was a YouTube video, and it talked about all the things did you know, and it was talking about change. The changes that we've seen and the increased pace of change. And that's one thing I think our leaders need to embrace is change. And we don't know what we're going to see 2 years from now. We don't know who our enemies are going to be. We don't know even what theater we're going to have conflict in. We need to be responsive to change. And that, I think, is a key quality of leadership that we have to have our current leaders embrace, and our future leaders probably understand it better than the current leaders.
So I think if I could add one thing, it would be to follow on very much what they just said, but it's looking for the simple solution. We have a tendency to make the hard solution our preference and then to surround it with bureaucracy and checkpoints and paperwork and reports, but we don't have time for that. So we need creative individuals who understand the pace of change, who can find and execute a simple solution.
If I could just add one thing, what I think everybody agrees, one of the many things the last 9 years of conflict have showed us, and you see it in the young leaders at the fastest pace. All these examples we've talked about, creativity, flexibility, adaptability, hardened veterans that have really shown great flexibility and adaptability to do what's been done over the last year with great resiliency all together just makes me feel that we're probably in pretty good shape with the core of civilians and officers and NCOs we have to be able to take in what probably we all haven't taken in until this point in our career. They learn much faster, and they're amazing. So I think as we give them these tools and these frameworks, they will definitely help us get down this path.
And Jeff, if you go to the last slide, so I'd answer it this way. As you pull up www.armyobt.army.mil and you pull down the business transformation plan, you go to page 26, the answer's there. It says, because we thought about it, and I didn't plant the last question, entrepreneurship. And if you read that, and I'm not going to share any more with you about what it says in there, it's just a short paragraph. That's what we're looking for. But when you read it, for those who have served, okay, in combat, every minute and every hour of every day that you're in harm's way, you're an entrepreneur. If you're a leader, you're an entrepreneur if you're a soldier. Because you're checking out what the changing market is around you, okay? And you're figuring out how you're going to exploit that opportunity of that changing market that's in front of you, and you're doing it with what resources you have, not asking for more. And that's what we have, that entrepreneurial spirit, adaptability, creativity in theater. It's happening every day over there. That's why this Army's going to change. That's why this enterprise approach is going to be successful, because the leaders are learning how to think, act, and operate that way in theater. And they won't be like me. Okay, when I came back, I just went back to my old budget culture stuff. Let's spend it, you know. Okay, they're going to come back, and over time, okay, they're going to embrace this, and they're going to operate that way when they're not in theater. Okay. Last thing I'll share with you is a great chief of staff. Okay, in addition to the great chief of staff we have now, a great chief of staff that I work for by the name of Schoolmaker. Told me something that stuck with me that I'll share with you. And he's an old cowboy from Wyoming, so he's talking about herding cattle, okay? I mean, I'm a young kid from Pittsburgh, so I didn't quite understand it the first time. But I kept running back into him. I was frustrated as could be, because I was on his transition team, and he said, I want to do these 9 things, and here's what you need to do. So I kept coming back and said, here's the answer to number 3, just do this. You know, sir, get off your ear and make this decision, you know. And he said, Bob, the fastest way to move the herd is slowly. When the time is right, that decision will be made. Oh, by the way, it's going to be made by those who understand it's the right decision, not by me, not by dictating that. We're doing that, okay? The leadership of your Army is doing that. We're moving the herd slowly, which is the fastest way to move it in the right direction. So I'm not sure we're on the bus, okay, but we're moving a little slowly. And I appreciate your participation today to allow us to share with you what the vision is of our Chief Management Officer, Dr. Westfall, who again wishes he could be here with his very able partner, the Vice, who are the ones who are leading, okay, the herd slowly under the very capable direction of our Secretary of the Army, Secretary McHugh, and his able, okay, partner, Chief of Staff of the Army, George Casey. So God bless you for everything you do for our soldiers and our families and our Army every day, okay, because you all also are helping to make a difference. Okay, thank you very much. And to all the panel members, thank you very, very much. Thanks for being here again. Are you all, we'll see you tonight?